for Indiana Health Centers.
Okay.
Awesome. Nice to meet everyone.
And I think, wasn't Jasmine with us for a minute?
Yes, I did see Jasmine Brown in here.
Yes, hi everybody, good evening. I am Jasmine Brown and I am a community member, a resident of Kennedy Park neighborhood.
Hi, Ms. Brown, how are you?
Good, thank you. How are you this evening?
Great, thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. Yeah, so let's go ahead and get started. So I've already introduced myself. Thank you all for joining us this evening. Your input and your feedback is so really beneficial on the development of this project. So after kind of, hearing a little bit more about this project and whatnot, what do you think is some of the most exciting, what is one of the most exciting possibilities you see for the greenhouse project?
Dominique, I like the idea, and I'm not thoroughly clear on what the greenhouse project will entail, but if I'm understanding correctly, you're going to bring access to fresh, affordable, healthy food into the neighborhood. Is that correct?
Yes, that's the goal of the project.
So you're going to otherwise become some type of store, grocery store.
Well, we hope that the greenhouse project will be multifunctional for residents. So we'll hopefully that the greenhouse project will allow for food to be produced on site, as well as have other implements that the residents will be able to benefit from, like farm stands or farmers markets, different type of a multi-use kind of like event space as well. So really it's up to the residents and what the residents want to see out of this type of project.
So I guess the question is, who's going to run it? I mean, is it going to be the residents, or is there going to be specific people that's going to be doing all the planning and picking and that type of stuff?
Well, we're always looking for different partnerships with other community organizations to assist with those type of logistics.
Okay, because in the summertime, I've only been with IHC since October, but last year they did have two small like planters that they planted vegetables and everything in for our facility, and we want to do that again this year. So that's kind of why we were excited to hear about the greenhouse as well. Maybe to get some new ideas, or share ideas that we have had as well. My supervisor and I, we were talking actually about some different ideas that we had, and one of them was we had thought about getting a hold of like juvenile probation and maybe working with them to have a couple of kids come out like once a week, picking some of the vegetables, maybe do some weeding and start knowing what it's like to work and learning to enjoy it and responsibility and those type of things. That's just one of the things we were just kind of throwing around. That's why I was asking you who was going to be doing the planning and picking in those type of things.
Yeah, those are great ideas. So what I'm hearing is that here is a opportunity to do youth engagement around this type of project.
Right. Yeah, I just think it'd be great. Just give them a feeling of belonging, and just there's a lot of other things out there to do to help somebody else maybe in need, and not always just focusing on maybe your own misfortune, I guess. But even some of our patients, so on, maybe they just would like to meet some new people and get out, and just the joy of learn about gardening and making friends. And are you guys going to offer any like classes or anything like that?
Definitely. In order for a project like this to be successful, there has to be an education component that's built into it. In order to one, to sustain it, and two, it's just fun.
It is.
So
Dominique, have you? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Have
Ms.
you
Marilyn, what was
spoken
that?
with Unity Gardens by chance?
Yes, ma'am.
Are
We
they
did speak-
willing to help out with this project?
Excuse me. We're not sure yet, but we did facilitate a conversation with Unity Gardens. We even did a field day and went on site to their headquarters. And we haven't heard from them in a while. So, but we're going to continue to try to get them involved. We did try to get them here this evening, and we haven't heard back from them. So, but we know where they're at. So might have to just drop in.
Hey, Danielle, how many people within the neighborhood are you looking, like how many people reside in the neighborhood where you're looking to have this project?
How many people reside in the neighborhood?
Yeah.
That I'm not sure.
I would
Oh.
say at least, well, this is the last census that I checked into, and it was maybe the information is 2 to 3 years old, but at least a minimum of 400 plus neighbors.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Do we know
Wow.
average, and I'm assuming average income is probably on the lower end, 25,000 or less, maybe?
Well, lower, I'm not sure exactly what you mean by lower, but based on the census information that I have, the average income was 16,000.
Okay. Okay. That's what I was thinking. And do we know, like, are these young families? Are they older adults? You know, I'm just trying to think of like mobility issues, like that type of thing. Like, even if it's in the neighborhood and easily can be walked to, if our demographic is older, and there might just be more physical limitations where even walking may not be something that's possible. So then of course my mind goes like, well, could there be some sort of neighbor CSA almost, where, you know, if Robin's going down the street to grab food, that I grab food for more than just myself, but for my neighbors. So I'm just curious, like, you know, the age group and then also like from a health perspective, I'm like, are these young families, if the housing stock is old, which we know 8 out of 10 homes in Winchester County are, there's lead prevention opportunities, asthma prevention opportunities, and those types of things. And I apologize because I did come in like 10 minutes late. So you might have covered this, and I apologize if you did.
No, you're fine. So what I'm hearing is you're thinking of how to implement some local programming into the greenhouse around possibly the development of like some community supported agriculture, some other type of, I'm thinking some health programming, some public health programming, and then also what I call in a program that I have worked on is a support a senior program, where it's like delivering food boxes to seniors that have some mobility challenges. What else? So I think that's what I'm hearing from you, right, Ms. Vita?
Yeah. It's easier for me to understand the neighborhood. If I have a good grasp of what the neighborhood is, I guess it's easier for me to think of the ways in which, or I should say, the possibilities that lie. So we know, of course, access to fresh food, always a huge thing, specifically within the city limits, because we know that food insecurity is quite high, especially coming out of the pandemic, right?
Right.
So yeah, I think, yeah, I would do a little bit of digging just to see who really my audience is. And would we have a reach? Like, would more than just the neighborhood identify with this and feel investment and want to participate? And Aaron, I don't know, is there a park in the area? Why do I feel like there's a park in the area?
This is, I think the proposed site is on our park property, right? Adjacent to the Martin Luther King Center.
Right.
Okay.
Yes, on the corner
Okay.
of Linden Avenue and Birdsell.
Okay, that's why it sounded so familiar, and I couldn't place it. I was placing it closer to Pulaski Park, but no. Okay, I'm okay. I got you.
It sounds like it would be a good idea if somebody, especially one of the companies that might have time to donate to this project, if someone is willing to pull the demographics of the area, then we, would have that information that you want, Robin. But I can tell you, based on the last time that I did any research, the majority of the medium age in the area is 37. And those are the people that probably are not the most active in the neighborhood. The seniors are active in the neighborhood. Now, the older seniors are maybe the ones that are 70 or 80. They're perhaps maybe not as active, but those that are 50, 60, and then probably down to the 40 age group, they're active. So I would be more interested on how do we get the 30-something involved in the neighborhood. It's a neighborhood that has more single parents than 2-parent households. And the single parent usually has, on the average, I'd say about 4 kids. So definitely some type of children program would be awesome. And then that's one way. When you get the children involved, oftentimes, that helps to get the parents involved.
Mm-hmm. No, thank you for that, Marilyn. That's what I was wondering too. And I agree, activating that 37-year-old is so important to see the greenhouse really as a resource in the community, right? And that they feel welcomed and like almost like, oh, that's in my neighborhood and I'm going to use it. And there's that piece there. When we did, and I'll have to look back if we did a food system assessment in that census tract. I can't, I'm not sure if we did, but I will look, Danielle, and if we did, I'll send you that focus group information. This was, gosh, a couple of years back now, where the Department of Health had worked through a food access assessment, really looking at like shopping behaviors and shopper loyalty, really as a way to get to food insecurity without asking somebody if they were unsure where their next meal was going to come from, since sometimes those questions can be somewhat undignifying, especially for parents, because they'll say, no, I'm fine, even though they haven't eaten and their children have. So that's why I'm always like trying to think of like maybe those more macro level pieces of a project like this, which is so cool, right? Like I think, ooh, community dinners and opportunities for conversation and neighborhood vitality. So I'm super stoked about it. And I will look back and see if we did gather a focus group in info session and share that if we did.
Yes, that information would be great. Thank you so much.
And Dominique, I think it would be very important if you're going to offer healthy food, if you could include cooking classes.
Definitely.
Because a lot of people that I've spoken with in the neighborhood, I live in that neighborhood and we have done some food, because at one time we were working on bringing a grocery store into the neighborhood, but not that necessarily that part of the neighborhood, but we were bringing a grocery store into a food desert on the further west side of the neighborhood. And one of the things that the neighbors kept expressing, they would be interested in eating healthier if they knew how to cook the food to taste better. Because it's no fun cooking collard greens if you can't put certain ingredients in those greens.
Right.
Like a ham hock.
See, I wasn't going there, but that's one of them. That's one of them. Yeah. Yeah, I have a cousin that was recently diagnosed with stomach cancer and his diet has completely changed. So when I'm taking a food basket over, I'm taking completely different things to him, as well as everything being organic. But anyway, that health, how to eat healthier would be awesome to provide a program for the neighbors.
Well, the nice part,
Address some of the chronic diseases that are within our neighborhood, like high blood pressure, like diabetes. There are others, but diet can impact those type of diseases.
I was going to say the nice part is that we have the center right there. And so the center can be really an extension of this program. It's space to have these classes, to have seminars, to have, you know, we don't have a full service kitchen there, but there is a small kitchen there and we can do demos and different things like that.
Awesome.
So
Awesome.
you got built-in programming space right next to the proposed site, and know that we would certainly offer any resources we can.
Oh, that would be great. That'd be great. I have
Wow,
a
that's
friend
great.
that teaches diabetic classes, and she does it in a fun way. And she's sponsored by St. Joe, and she's always trying to find a way to connect with neighbors or connect with people, you know, to have classes. And that could be definitely an arm of this, if interested.
That's awesome. Especially the piece of being able to, I mean, eventually there's already a direct connection between the greenhouse and the MLK Center that already is kind of a beacon in the neighborhood as it is, and being able to connect to some existing programming that might already exist at the MLK Center. And really just, this is adding value to not only the Linden Avenue corridor, but the MLK Center as well. And so giving residents more things to do recreationally, and as well. So this is a great conversation. Thank you guys.
Now just the MLK, because it's not all a positive thing in the neighborhood, and I'd like to see it become much more positive within the neighborhood. Do they offer exercise programs with instructors? I guess, Aaron, I'm asking you, is that even possible?
Yeah, there are some group fitness classes and things like that there in terms of
Like some of the buzzwords like Pilates and
Yep. Yeah,
the
I
other one
couldn't tell you. I know Cynthia's on the call. She's in another one of these breakout rooms, but she'd probably be able to rattle them off better than I. I went to a line dancing class there once, so not that long ago, and I was confused by line dancing. I thought that meant country line dancing. It was like hip hop line dancing, but
they're the same in that they both have a beat, right?
Yeah, right. So yeah, there are group fitness classes there. I couldn't rattle them off, but I'm sure there's, you know, the yoga, Pilates. I think there's cardio drumming that happens there sometimes.
I think it would be interesting if we could, and I think with the city's involvement, maybe we could do this. We always had a problem with communicating with the neighbors because we didn't have the manpower to go house to house. And if the city could do mailers of some sort to let people know what's going on, so that the neighbors could utilize or even show more interest because they have the information in front of them. So if we educate the neighbors to, you know, here are the possibilities, we're looking for your input, or even if you contacted the neighborhood associations to try to help promote and have those discussions with their neighbors during their meetings, that might be a way to find out more information of what neighbors want.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, and that could be, Aaron, that could be a great project for the Department of Health's newest community health workers. I'm just saying, I might have manpower. I would lend to a friend.
Absolutely. We're game for that. You know, what's interesting to me is this kind of idea, even that it's not just about having the greenhouse, it's all about the policy. And Dominique started talking about this right from the get, you know, how we're designing program and policy about it. And that's where we're spending a lot of our time. Even in the center itself, I'll probably not make a lot of friends like by saying this, but the food that we're serving there for kids after school and otherwise, and the concession stand, it's nachos, it's, you know, Coca-Cola, it's all these types of things. And so I wonder if we can really start to build a culture of there is healthy food that tastes good too, right?
Mhm.
And so how do we even start with our youth that come in the community center and really say, I know you want nachos, but what else can we do that's different and
Yeah, that's
program it that way?
kids love carrots. Don't, would you say, Jasmine? They love carrots. I mean, some of the after school programs that have been sponsored by different organizations I've been a part of, I'm amazed at the healthy foods that kids love.
Yeah.
I think
Educator,
that's
I do, students will ask for fruits and vegetables with their lunches every day. It's an option that they can take, but the students will request it. So yes, it does have, students will look out for it.
oh, that's great. That's really incredible. I actually was having a conversation with a parent recently who was actually really upset about the food quality choices at her daycare because a lot of the parents were having, like hot chips, all that kind of like more junky type of food. So it's really good to hear that kids actually want to have access to healthy food. So, and really, again, back to the presentation that I gave earlier, in regards to it's about informing them about their choices too. So if we give them more choices, here, do you want, so well, sometimes kids, do you want a bag of chips or do you want an apple? Well, some kids might want a bag of chips, but some kids might want an apple. But give them more choices of, do you want an apple or an orange or a banana too, So it really starts about informing kids. And like you were saying earlier, Miss Marilyn, in regards to getting the kids excited, that if the kids come home excited, the parents will get excited. So, hey, what is my kid really excited about down here? Let me come down here and check it out too. So then hopefully you grab a multitude of demographics, especially that younger demographic that you want to grab in the neighborhood too.
And I think since our neighborhood is changing, I mean, it at one time, it was predominantly Black, and it might still be, I'm not sure. I have that information, but I'm not sure. But I do know we have more Hispanics moving in, we have more whites moving in, and it might be good sometimes just to have cultural exchange programs, where we taste different foods from different cultures. I know we probably all like Hispanic foods, and I like soul food and so forth and so on. But whatever it is that you normally eat at home, have those kind of introductions into the facility as well.
One of the programs that I run in another city is it's called a community culture kitchen. And so we had a Puerto Rican dish that we made. It was sofrito. And so we had, and so since we can't meet physically, we actually had the person make a video virtually, and we posted it to our Facebook page so that our residents were able to still engage with us in a somewhat virtual manner and learn how to make sofrito. So there's some really interesting ways to teach folks how to engage in the different cultures around food and things like that. So that's a really great idea.
And you can also use the growing to help with some of the educational classes. You might talk about growth in relationship to science, in relationship to math, different ways that you can incorporate plants and their growing season and how they grow and why they grow and the type of soil and, all of that that's needed. Just be a real hands-on, I think, for kids. Well, I don't know. This is providing that we can come within 6 feet of each other, I guess.
Right.
But, when things return to normal, which I really believe someday it will, maybe we could do some things that are coordinated with education.
Speaking of education, I am a co-founder of a group called Dig In. Marilyn was once with us, but we have community conversations around meals for community members to have conversations about race, have conversations about community, changing community problems into community issues so that we can deal with them as a neighborhood. This is something that I think would be a great space for us to be able to hold dig-in meetings or to have community come together to have those conversations in, a respectful and problem-solving way.
That's excellent, Miss Brown. So that actually answers a couple of questions that I have in regards to like, well, especially in regards to an organization like yours, how involved do you think your organization would wish to be with this type of project?
Mhm.
We would love to be in the conversation, absolutely, with ideas and implementation, and then also be users of the facility to bring other community members in, so they are seeing what's happening here over in Kennedy Park, and then engaging with the neighborhood.
Mhm. I
And
think
so
that'd
it
be
also
very
sounds
good.
like the mission and vision of your organization actually fits into the greenhouse project.
Yes. Yes, we are, and Marilee can help because she is still with the group. Turn around, we have conversations again about community issues and things that are happening. But the main important thing is building trust and building relationships over community or over meals, right?
Mhm.
And so
Right.
bringing in your type of meal, like it brought me with the cultural conversation, brought me into it, bringing what you break bread at your home with into the community to break bread with your neighbor. And then again, it builds the trust, it builds the relationship, so you can have those vulnerable conversations, and then to make sure that you have somebody within your community that you can rely on and talk to.
Mhm.
Wow, that's excellent.
And it
That's
works great
excellent.
as a meet and greet.
Yes,
Also. Yeah.
absolutely.
You know, something else too that makes me think is, what about going back to canning your own food instead of going to the grocery store and paying $1 for a can of vegetables when you could pay, what, 49 cents maybe to make your own? And just learning how to do that and saving money, sitting around the table with your family eating, going back to some of those old traditions.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that's always a possibility too,
Mhm.
to maybe a subject to look at.
Food
No,
preservation is incredibly important. A couple of cities that I've worked in, and a couple of other food activist folks, food justice activist folks that I've worked with, are really big in regards to the food preservation work, and especially like getting like is it Serve Safe certified? Am I saying that right? Serve Safe certified.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, Serve Safe certified. It's a bit of a tongue twister, but getting like Serve Safe certified, and so that they can also teach other folks how to do food preservation work, and then also
Very nice.
the other the gardening project that I work on as well. I rolled out a large curriculum last year, and food preservation was one of the things that I rolled out as well, and made sure that folks learn how to even ferment. How to ferment their own foods, especially like going towards the winter, teaching good gut health and stuff like that. So just different things that folks might not be like privy to, and like boiling it down and bringing it down to the local level, and things like that. So it's really interesting.
Yes, it is.
Mhm. Another group that might be interested, the farmers market. There was a farmers market here on the west side, very small neighborhood market, and they have since moved into the N office building or that parking lot during the season. But there might be times that some of the farmers there, because it's hard to bring farmers to the west side of Indy. I've worked with that task before. It's not easy. It's not impossible, but maybe with the city along, it'll be easier. But it's difficult getting farmers to want to come to the west side of Indianapolis for whatever reason. But there are farmers that are working with NNN, and perhaps there might be some buy-in there where, monthly or so, they might want to come into this area now that we have a hub, so to say, with an area where we're gathering people. So that's a possibility too. And I'll get that name for you. I'm like South Bend, what was it called? I can't remember right now. But anyway, they're
I
still
It's
out.
believe
called
it's
Community
the Urban
Gardens.
Farmers Market.
Urban Farmers, that's it. And Karen Hahn is working with that closely, and she is the owner of Bendix Coffee, which is an asset in this particular neighborhood. They're over in the old Bendix building, or she used to be. And she is someone that you might want to contact to see if there's any interest to coming from time to time to this particular location.
That's excellent. So what were some of your primary challenges with trying to get farmers to come into the neighborhood?
Well, a lot of them were already committed to the market on the east side.
Mm,
And when we started the farmers market, what we did was some of us would go to the farmers directly and buy foods from the farmers and bring it back and sell it. And then that store up in Niles, right there on 933.
Shelton's.
Shelton's, yeah. They would sell us food at a wholesale price, which was very helpful. And like I said, and then some of the area farmers, but there just wasn't that interest. And some would say if we had the market, meaning if we had the people, they would be willing to sell at bulk a lot of food or even grow more food so that we could have it. But they needed that commitment. And then we didn't have the market open. It wasn't open enough days. It was just one day a week.
okay.
And the same
that's-
with the urban garden market. It's only open one day a week.
I mean, it definitely sounds like it has lots and lots of possibilities.
Mhm.
I mean, what about even the off seasons? I mean, what about like Halloween time, doing pumpkins and bringing families out together and learning even how to, prepare food that has pumpkin in it, or Christmas time? What about learning how to use, spices, or selling Christmas trees even, just to continuously having the families out there and bringing them there and to participate and wanting to have them keep coming back often. So it definitely has a lot of possibilities, a lot of neat ideas going through my head, I guess.
Yeah, those are some really great ideas to implement different events, local programming, continuing education, basically year round. So basically making this a space that is facilitates things that are just like year round rather than just seasonal. And I think that that's what's really hard for us in Indiana, is that especially around growing season, is that we get like good 3 months out of the year and then it kind of falls apart. But if we can, give rise to something where it's a year round thing, that it makes it more successful. It makes the project more sustainable as well. And not sustainable in a sense that we're talking about environmentally, but we're talking about like longevity of the project, how to get residents engaged, how to get people like a steady flow of traffic in there. So things like that, right? So, and then also supporting our MLK Center as well, making sure that local programs at the MLK are supported and whatnot, and that there's a great connection between the project and the MLK Center. So
don't forget Unity Gardens, obviously.
And Unity Gardens, because they actually have a couple of raised beds.
I know everyone. Heaven, can you add those benefits that we got Miss Stanley cut off on at the end there, which that they have garden